There are many ways to draw the human body in motion, and one of them is from memory or knowing the anatomy. And I think most people go practice at Open Studio. Open Studio is great because you can see the model moving for quick sketches, and also for long pose, the action of the muscles, the bones, and the arms. Open Studio also ends up being very expensive because not only in your time of traveling, but also in how much it costs per session to go. So I have a few books about anatomy. I have a background in medical illustration, and I want to get better as an artist, knowing about how everything moves. I want to get better as an artist, and one thing I don't have that I was looking for was a figure that I can move around. I like something, I'm really go into a rabbit hole of research. I compare the cost, I compare the value, and I think about how much I would use something. And I don't like to have junk around the house. I like to have things I find useful. Even the real junk that I have around the house is recycle things that I could reuse again as an artist. But when I go and buy something, I like to know what to expect. So I end up being obsessive about it, researching blogs and opinions and criticism. And also one of the things I looked at first was Body-kun, and what drew me first to it was that you can move everything around, but I didn't like the way the head looked in relation to the body. I think it's more, in my opinion, it's more for people who are into anime than for realistic drawing. So for me, I have a background in medical illustration. I looked at cadavers, I looked at everything that's more realistic end. So for me, I did not want to look at something that moves and then in my head I need to think, okay, this head is out of proportion to the body and this is not real, and I need to make that flip when I'm drawing. And there's already a lot of things I need to keep in mind when I'm drawing, and I don't need to think about my reference as not a real reference of what I want to accomplish. So I think it's good for those that want to do anime drawing and that's the style they're looking for, to look at Body-kun and see if that's something that they would want to invest in. I looked at was Max Factory Figma, and it's not as big as I want it to be. This is a Statue of Liberty. This is 4 inches tall, I believe. Yeah. And I was using this as a reference at one point, and it's hard for me to look at the details, and I should have invested something bigger. And I knew from this that a 4-inch tall model was not good for me. So something that's 2 more inches is not going to help me for a reference. So I wanted something else besides the Figma. I found this male figure that's juxtaposed that I can move around, and I'm gonna do a more in-depth comparison about the joints and movements later in the video, but this is what I end up buying. It's a 1/6 MX02 2014 version that I got off on eBay, and I just need it for basic movement. I need it for, you know, if I want to move the body this way and I want to imagine a person running, how would it be? I just need to know, like, roughly how would it look like in motion. I had the wooden doll that we had all in school, and it can't move as much. And so far, this one, I'll show you, you can move the hand separately from, you know, around with the elbow. You can move this around, And then when I put the feet on, you can see that the toes will move separately too. So I think of course, the thing that's lacking in this is that it's not going to have the anatomy features that I want, but I already have in my other video this 3D total model. So I can use this as a reference to this. And you can see that this is 1/6, and so I can use both as a model, versus if I had something a little bit bigger that's 6 inches, it's hard to do a comparison just to look at the details. And I think the way, I'm not sure, but I mean, somebody can tell me on video, but I think the way you're supposed to use Figma and also Kanban is that you take a photo of it in the pose that you want, and then you draw from that photo. I think that's one way you can use it. So if you don't want to deal with, if you want to deal with how you can bypass, that's how you can bypass the smallness of an action figure. But I like to draw from source. I don't like to take a picture of something and then draw from the picture unless I have to. And I think you have to sometimes, but if I can draw live from the reference material, that's what I do. I mean, that's the basic reason why I got this skull, and I made sure that it's, well, at least they advertise that it's cast from a human skull. So when you draw from a reference material, depending on what it is, you have to keep track. You have to make sure that it's not flattened out by the camera. Let's get started, and I'm going to show you different parts of this. Probably saw that I broke the hand earlier. I don't think I was very rough with it, but apparently I was enough that the little bit of the hand came off of the ball, and that's something to keep in mind with this. Okay, so in comparison with the 3D total model, which is gonna win for basically everything, so I wouldn't use this for anatomy, but I would use it for like knowing the planes of the face. This would be knowing the major parts of the body. So here's the chest, here's the abs, then you have the upper arm that's broken down to 3 parts. Then you have the legs, the upper leg, kneecap, so you need to keep in mind of the patella. And then the lower leg, you have the feet, and then you can move the toes. And I think just knowing, I mean, you can say, okay, so you can look at your own body and say, I have this and that, so I should keep that in mind. But are you really going to move your body in that direction, take a photo of yourself, and then keep in mind of those things? But you would use this as a simple model too. Okay, I'm doing a running pose here. How do I keep, what's the major body parts that I need to keep in mind in this pose? So if I was drawing this, it would be different from this versus the quarter view. So that's something you would keep in mind. Something else that you need to think about is that the torso here, this is as far as it turns. So I don't know what you're drawing, but what you're using this for. But keep that in mind, that you can't twist it as much around. And then for whatever reason, you can twist your arm around, and you would not do that, right? I don't know, maybe you're drawing aliens or something, and that's what happened to a possessed human being. But these are some limitations that you have with this. The leg, that makes sense. You won't be able, oh, that's weird. Okay, so one leg you can twist around, and the other leg you can twist all the way around. So let's see. I'm definitely not gentle now, but anyway. Overall, this was less than $20, including shipping. I got it off of eBay. It was new, it wasn't used, but it gives me a general idea of what's going on. It probably helps reinforce what I did at Quick Sketch at Open Studio. It's helpful in that I can keep the motions in place. I would, if you already have action figures at home, I would look at what you have at home and play with that and see if it does what you want to do already. Most of my action figures, when I strip it down, it doesn't have the simple body. It's actually like some sort of weird, you know, just because nobody is looking at the body of the action figure, at least the ones I have. So it's not going to be what I need. But if you already have an action figure at home, maybe you can just reuse that. Let's see. The final test is, let's see if it stands. Okay, it stands, but I don't think it's sturdy. Okay, it's not very sturdy. Anyway, so keep in mind of all these things, and good luck, and let me know what you think and if you already have one at home.